And please pay close attention to this news. The Governor Everett Hackins announced the modification of the decree which extends the previous curfew measure. The curfew will now begin at 10 p.m. every day.
From today, we're going to modify the decree that established the restriction of circulation of the community, including the tourism people who come visit here, the island. We're going to establish that the circulation not going from 8 o'clock, it's going from 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock in the night every day. This end of week, people can circulate without no problem until 10 o'clock. Now, the commercial activity also can work the whole day from 5 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock in the night.
This means that from this weekend, the curfew starts at 10 p.m. Hackins also stated that the ID card schedule measures continue, but clarifies that it is only to enter establishment. The circulation on the roads remain normal.
The PICO and cedula, that we established in the decree is only for the community or the people who want to visit a public entity or private enterprises. For them, they can come in the day that the last number of the cedula is par or impar.
The Commander-in-Chief also reiterated that the measure is enforced from today Friday and invites businessmen to enforce the measure in their respective establishment.
Young Islanders continue to support the national strike on the island. This afternoon, they marched through the main streets of the town area and finished in front of the command of the National Police, then move over to the Kriol Palace.
With drums, cymbal and posters, young people from the island made a tour in support of the national strike wearing the Colombia t-shirt. According to one of the organizers, Sebastian Calero, issues regarding the health, sport, and education system have been persisted in the department for years, and this is the reason for the demonstration.
We are marching due to the 28th of March, which marks when the tax reform all started. Although we know it is already down, but we are still awaiting the labor reform, the pension reform, and also for all the needs that the archipelago has, like the issue with the hospital. The health service in San Andres is not the most adequate. Also, the support to the sports area is not the most adequate. In the higher education area, we need more support from the departmental government for students who want to go out to study.
The young people of the island concluded the tour with songs in front of the Kriol Palace facilities.
And materials continue to arrive to the archipelago to rebuild the houses affected by Hurricane Iota on the island of Old Providence. The authorities held a meeting to know about the progress and the arrival of new batches of materials.
In the morning hours, the military authorities met with the management for the reconstruction behind closed doors to carry out a unified command post where they analyzed the progress of the reconstruction of Old Providence and Queclina. Rear Admiral Hernando Matos de Ajer, commander of the specific command of the archipelago, gave a report of the aid that will arrive in the coming days to the municipality.
This morning we were talking about the departure of our ship, the ARC Caribe, which is about to leave Cartagena and is arriving with 14 containers with construction materials for the island, and also 4 containers from the Foundation of the First Lady of Childhood and Adolescence. We are preparing the ship to deploy in Santa Catalina and take all the reconstruction materials there in order to start the reconstruction work in Santa Catalina, where the passage of construction materials has been very difficult.
The National Navy indicated that they will continue with the transport of materials for the reconstruction. It is noteworthy that this week the Air Force transported 9 tons of material from the city of Bogota to the municipality of Old Providence.
The Secretary of Education of the department announced that the 2021 PI concession has been granted.
With this adjudication, 6,098 children and young students from San Andres and 904 from Old Providence will have the opportunity to continue benefiting from these rations.
El día de ayer adjudicamos el programa de alimentación escolar.
Yesterday, we have granted the concession for the school feeding program for 2021. It was granted to the only bidder, the Association Sweet Food, which for some years now we have been working with them and with which we have not had any problems. Therefore, it was granted for about 5,100 million pesos, which will ensure that children and young people on the island can continue receiving their ration to prepare at home while they are in the blended or alternation modality.
The pie provides the parents of the children with a basket of basic foods to be prepared at home as a food supplement for their school days, which contains milk, rice, oil, wheat, flour, eggs, oatmeal, pasta, and cereals.
April 9th is nationally recognized as the Commemoration Day for victims of the armed conflict. Therefore, the Secretary of Social Development, together with the Victims Unit, carried out an activity where recognition was given to those victims affected by the armed conflict. The Secretary of Social Development, Carlos Arturo Fontalvo, explained what the event was about.
Estuvimos hoy reconociendo a esas mujeres.
Today we were recognizing those women, leaders, those men who have contributed and have been in total support to the victims in the department. They were given kits and a message of resilience.
On the other hand, the person in charge of the Victims Unit on the island expressed her opinion about the event.
Bueno, en el día de hoy hicimos
Today we made a reflection for them to recognize the courage they have had during all this time, because many times they don't realize it. There are many victims from 20 or 30 years ago, and sometimes they forget to recognize the courage they have had to move forward in the midst of all their tragedy.
It is worth mentioning that within the framework of the victims of the armed conflict on the islands, the Social Development Secretariat has the objective of establishing a database of these victims to articulate with the Ombudsman's Office and the Victims Unit so that these people can receive state aid to alleviate their bad situation.
The project of incentives for the conservation of marine and terrestrial ecosystems affected by Hurricane Iota this week have worked on several fronts: cleaning of trails, coral nurseries, and maintenance of these nurseries.
As part of the black crab operation from the Ministry of Environment and with the support of Mas Bosques, Coralina, and other allies, the project for the conservation of marine, terrestrial, and coastal ecosystems began to be carried out. This project is working every week in different areas.
So right now we have more 320 people working in a whole project, but here in Providence we have 250 at them, 113 at the viveros. We have 100 working on the restoration of the land ecosystem that we have, and 20 in the Pansy. So we have met plenty of activities so far. Then clean up this whole center of the peak.
On the terrestrial part, the cleaning of Lazy Hill Creek began and the section between Fort and Morgan Head was completed.
This week we finished to clean up the sendero from Morgan Head. That was more than 600 meters of sendero, and then clean up everything. Also the people from the sea strategy then put up more than 500 pieces of coral in the guarderia that we have here in Bluff in front of Rocky Pine. And also with the vivero, then get more than 200 plants of mangrove and some fruit. And right now they're taking care of it.
The project that has been working since December has already cleared out the path to the peak with the help of soldiers in the past months.
And then clean up Bowden Gully, Gamadit Gully. Right now they start with the SE Hill Gully. And then clean up the Southwest Bay and also Manzanillo Bay. I remember know that then also clean up some of the mangrove from Ton, from Ketlina. And the idea that we want to continue also Pansy, we want to clean up the coral reef and also seagrass.
There are already more than 2,500 coral fragments and more than 3,000 seedlings ready for planting. The project employs more than 250 inhabitants of Old Providence affected by Iota.
And this afternoon, the first model home of the 4 styles that will be built for the victims of Old Providence was unveiled to the public. The community can now go to the Bottom House sector and take a look at this house.
This is how the first new house looks. It was delivered to the Howard Bent family in Batham House. Teacher Diana, who lives with her mother and family members, talk about how she feels entering her new home.
I'm very happy about this. can't explain the happiness. This was the house of my dream. I always dream was to have something like this, and I thank the people a lot.
With joy, the teacher described this new house.
The house have 3 rooms, a kitchen, a good-sized hall, the bathroom, and we have the place where you can wash your clothes, a good place where you can rest in the evening.
The manager of the reconstruction project for Fin de Terre invites the community to see the type of houses the national government is delivering.
That they are quite robust structures with a capacity to withstand winds of 273 kilometers per hour, and that they will first guarantee the safety of the houses 100% safe, that the design criteria and traditional architecture of the island will be respected.
As for the delays, he explained that it's necessary to take into account the complexity of the island's condition and the logistics for the execution of the houses.
The port operation plus the maritime operation that has generated delays. We also had an outbreak of COVID from the Army specifically, that is our workforce in the demolition and preparation of the lots for the excavation of the footings, and we understand that this has generated some delays.
The delivery of the second house in Southwest Bay is expected at any moment. So far, there are 54 new houses under construction.
The Kriol Myuzik Cluster is a range economy platform that seeks to identify musical products of the islands at national and international level.
This process was driven by the Music Association RIM, Racial Indigenous Musician Movement, hand in hand with the Chamber of Commerce of San Andres for more than 8 months, and was officially installed in January 2021.
Well, the Kriol Myuzik Cluster is an initiative that have been supported by the RIM, the Racial Indigenous Musician Movement. From last year, during 8 months, RIM have been working hard for propose the launching of the music brand for the island, that is the Kriol Myuzik. Into a cluster initiative, and this cluster initiative, propose a great and huge action plan, for the following 5 years in the music sector.
The importance of this project lies in that it seeks the position of the culture of San Andres through music and strengthen the identity and cultural heritage of the archipelago, based on Creole as a native language, and will generate the first musical album with 8 songs and videos for circulating and marketing in 3 international markets.
And in our culture section, we also want to highlight those spaces that seek to make the Creole culture visible. This time it is the Creole School.
The Creole School was born as an alternative for all children of our archipelago who seek to find recreational spaces to learn about music and agriculture and to rescue all the cultural tradition of our islanders.
Thinking on our community, thinking on our children, and more than all, thinking on the children from this section, specifically this section, the area, let's say from Tam Hookah, come right up to, Cove Seaside or up Cove on the hill. And it gets so popular that we have children from all in the town, that get to know, and the parents, they get to know, and they send them, they actually, and they are welcome, they are welcome because here we not charge them.
The children attend 3 times a week, and in this space they learn singing, percussion, vocal technique, and agriculture.